Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. I am thrilled to have these amazing superstars joining me today. Ladies, how are you doing today?
Great. Good.
Great.
Good.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you.
Excellent. So these four incredible women make up ECHO. Would you mind, one of you, telling us what ECHO means?
ECHO stands for Empowering Conversations of Hope and Opportunity. And we are a living example of that message because we're four people who came together online, actually, in a educational setting. And we found that our messages aligned, our purposes aligned, and we began echoing each other's thoughts and said, we'd like to share this with others.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I'd like to echo that. So you all came together because you were aligned, or you realized that you were aligned. And whose idea was it? Like, hey, wait a minute. I think that the four of us can create something better or incredible. Whose thought process did that come through?
I'm the guilty party of that.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
And I like that guilty, if you want to say that, because I think it's really great that we were able to build such a connection, actually never having met in person, and finding a way to get to know one another in a very thoughtful, respectful, and empowering way.
Wow, very cool. So I'm just curious, if I was a fly on the wall, how was that conversation?
It all started out of me saying, hey guys, I think we should build our own stage to speak on. That's where this started, because we were all we were all speakers and we were looking for a stage to speak on. And it's like, we should be a collaborative, because each one of our stories mesh together so well that we give a complete package of things that you could utilize in your life to make it better. So you could use something from all of us, or you could pick and choose what you needed out of the four of us. So it's like we come with a complete package to be able to provide you with assets for if you're in business or as a parent, suffering from grief, having health issues, finding joy. Just being able to do that, it's a really complete package.
Nice. Power in numbers, right?
Excellent. Well, I believe with collaboration is when we make change.
And why do we need to make change?
Well, if we look at statistics of health, I can speak to that one. Over 50% of adult Americans live with at least one chronic illness. Worldwide, it's 1 in 3. So we have a serious health issue, and we need to be addressing this and finding new ways, because obviously what we're doing isn't working. If right now we're at 50%, where are we going to be in 5 years? Serious long-term health conditions are not being improved to the point that they improve your quality of life enough that you can say, I'm not sick anymore. That doesn't happen very often. So it's really important in health. I think the other ladies can speak about from their perspective and what they teach, why it's so important. So I'll kick it off to Amy now.
Well, Debbie mentioned that part of the package is the alignment and yet the diversity of our collaboration. And I think that's so important. We walk the talk. We want to help people realize that they're missing out on a lot by thinking that joy and health and laughter and survival and thriving are going to just land in their laps one day. It all begins with us. Every one of us has the innate power to create joy on little incremental bases every single day. And it starts with the gratitude from waking up in the morning and empowering yourself with the gratitude that I have 5 senses. I'm mobile. I speak. I see. That in itself, we all realize, we don't take for granted. We realize are miracles. And speaking to diversity, we're people from 4 different areas of the country, from Phoenix to Florida. We are from 4 different decades, from the 40s to the 70s. And we are an example of people who respect our age differences, our backgrounds, our regional differences, and so much more. So that's really very special to us. And we are trying through our book, and I have one here, Echo This, which is Empowering Conversations of Hope and Opportunity. And our alignment, our platform is in this book so that we can elaborate somewhat and show people that it's not as difficult, but it's an answer to not wanting to get up in the morning and get out of bed. It's doable, and we're proving it through our daily existence. I still haven't met Debbie in person, but we're best friends. We've come together across the miles and enriched our lives just by noticing the person next to us and being curious about that person.
Wow, beautiful. So I'm going to ask this question. Who's the baby in the bunch?
Michaela.
Hi, Michaela. She's the baby.
Yeah.
But you're not teething that type of baby. But what I mean is that the fact that you talked about crossing lines, age differences, that we can all still come together no matter our age. And I think age is just a number that people give us, because if you stopped celebrating that birthday, you would never even know how old you are, right? Or how young you are. I don't like saying the word old, because if I hear somebody who's 40 years old say, "Oh, I'm too old," I want to kick them in the head. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not old at all. And I have a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so this, I'm so that." And it's all this negativity. And then they go, "I can't do that. I'm too old." I'm like, you're a lot younger than me, and I can do it. So don't put a limit on yourself. And when we think about the age, sometimes we discriminate on age, and it's not talking about a job. We discriminate because we say, "Oh, they're too old, they can't do it," or "They're too young, they can't do it. They don't have the experience." So we have to find a happy place where we can share knowledge, and it doesn't matter the age. There should be no barriers there. It should be thoughts and processes that we go through in order to be able to collaborate, as you said. And it's incredible that you found each other.
Yeah, I want to make a comment about you said about change. And I think change is so important because without change, we're not growing. And to your point about the age, I was on a networking event the other day, and there was a 75-year-old woman that was an entrepreneur, but she's like, "I'm ready for a change." And she's like, "I need to do something new. I'm going to start my own TV show." And not once did she say, "I'm 75, I'm too old." Those words never came out of her mouth. And she was basically like, "I know you might think that I'm old or too old to do this, but you're never too old to do anything you want to do." And for her, that's a big change. That's something she's bringing into her life that she doesn't know how to do, but she's learning how to do it. And it just goes to show that if we stay the same, do the same thing day after day, we're not changing, we're not growing. So she was a living testament to that. So I think it's so important that we continue to change.
Yeah. I want to share a quick story with you. I was teaching Tai Chi in the park, and my youngest person, I believe, was maybe 68.
Oh, love
And
that.
then I had a bunch of them, 98 plus.
Wow.
I had several of them who were 102. But here's the cool thing. Here's what really made me always want to teach them. At the end of class, I think there's a plane flying above. I don't know if you heard it, but there's a plane flying above. So I'm near the airport. So what happens is when I teach a class, a lot of people just grab their things and they go, but not these guys. Both young ladies and young men, 102, 98, 100, 101, they would come over to me, make a circle around me, and ask me questions. And it was their inquisition, their inquisitive minds that said, hey, how do you do this move? How do you do that? So they were still looking for growth. And at that age, you would think, oh, they're going to stay home, sit on the couch. No, they got in their cars at that age, and they were driving, and they were vibrant, and it was beautiful. And it was just incredible that they would come out and be there all the time and train, but also want to learn more. And I think that's one of the things that we we say, there's that old saying, you can't teach an old dog a new trick. Meanwhile, it's not about a trick. It's about a skill or knowledge or just fun, right? So, yeah, age doesn't matter.
100% agree with that. And I think that, learning to understand that you can always find different ways to approach something is always important. I like that you said inquisitive, because curiosity is my word this year. And always remain curious. I've always been that way, but it's like I wake up every morning being curious about what's going to happen today. Just thinking about the airplane going across as we were talking, and you were saying, I don't know if you heard that. I hope everyone heard that and was in the moment right here, right now, because that's what we have. And let's be together in the present and learn from one another.
I love that you said that you're one word for this year, and a lot of people don't know what that means. So there is that book out there, right? One word, where you define one word that you can live by, that really speaks to you, whether it's goal, family, attitude, smile. That one's a big word because it has an action behind it, and it has a thought behind it. Because if you see someone else smile, may make you smile. But if you smile more often, you're smiling in two ways, on the outside and on the inside. So the one word, I love that you brought that up.
When talking about smiling, I just would like to comment about that. That's kind of interesting because I never really thought about that it was an action and a thought until I started to have to wear a mask all the time because I'm immune compromised. And every time somebody smiled at me, I would smile back. And it's like, well, nobody can see that smile. So then I painted a great big smile on every mask that I wore so that at least I was smiling before they ever, from the get go. So they were smiling back at me. So, it's just little things like that you can do in your life to make a difference and impact the way that you feel, because now you're initiating the start and you're making someone think and do an action.
Yeah. One of the things that obviously I just launched my twofold type business. One is it's a communication center here in Long Island, Farmingdale, New York, and also online. And what happens is when we communicate, there's so many telltales with our face, our hands, our body language, that a lot of people lost a lot during the pandemic. They lost the ability to connect. A lot of speakers lost their gigs, if you will. They lost their jobs. Some of them had to realign and say, wait a minute, I can do this online. I can still speak online. I can speak to more people, and nobody needed to travel. But and then you didn't have to wear a mask if you're online, right? But when we went out in public and you put that smile on, you automatically presented yourself differently than anybody else who maybe was upset, angry that they had to wear the mask, angry at people, afraid of people, all these different things. But one thing that, as a communicator myself, I'm a people watcher. I got to tell you, I love watching people. And one of the things for me was I can see somebody smile with their eye, even when they were wearing a mask. And I could say, oh, you're smiling. They're like, how do you know? I said, your eyes are smiling too. They're like, they are? Yeah, absolutely. Because it's when somebody genuinely smiles, their eyes light up. They kind of like, whoop, they go up a little bit. And it makes a huge difference. Because if somebody gives you a fake smile, their eyes don't. Because it's fake. Right? So when somebody smiles, look at their eyes. It tells if they're really smiling or not. So Michaela, talk to us about your involvement in ECHO.
I like to echo the message of what it's like to go from surviving to thriving, because I often talk about that in life. I don't know one person that's going to get out of this life alive without some type of obstacle or adversity. And so you have to figure out what you want to do with it when it comes your way and what it takes to get through that.
Beautiful. So you echo it. I love how you guys use this. This is pretty clever. And so, Lisa, what is your role in ECHO? Because you all started telling me we came together because we all bring different strengths. And together, you're a puzzle. And to me, you're a puzzle because I don't know you well. So it's always interesting to figure out, where does this piece fit? So where do you fit, Lisa?
Sure, my puzzle piece is play. So I like to echo the message of how playtime pays off. Because if you think about play is not just for children. It's a crucial part of adult life as well. So it can offer significant benefits. And one of them being creativity. When we play, when we take time to play in our day, that helps us be more creative the rest of the day. It helps with risk taking and as well experimenting. We all have fun experimenting, and that's really you're playing when you're doing that.
I love it. I love it. So talk to me about how important is it not only playing, but laughing?
Well, that's part of play, games, anytime that we can do that. And that's the whole thing is when I do stand up, I like talking about your smile with the eyes. You can kind of see the eyes and are they genuinely laughing? And you can just you don't even need to look at people with their mouths open actually laughing. You look at their eyes, and that's really a form of connection. That's the best feeling in the world. Being on the stage, telling them a joke, making them laugh, making them feel like they're free to just laugh and connect with each other. That's also helping people around you bond more as well.
Beautiful.
So it's so important. Got to have the laughter every day.
Yeah, you talked about play, games, right? But some people become so competitive that they don't, all they're focusing on is winning, and they forget that their face needs to smile, to have fun, right? While you're being competitive. And I've seen it many times where people get angry because they're playing a game, they're not winning, somebody else is doing better. And all of a sudden it's their tension, their anxiety builds up. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be, when we play a game, it should be to enjoy it. And one of the things, because I work with kids, I see so many sore losers. It's so funny to me. And I say to them, I said, why are you so angry? They're like, because I lost. And I'm like, but the cool thing is you played, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden I start. So sometimes what I do with the little kids is I'll flip them upside down and I go, now look, you're smiling. They're like, no, I'm not. I said, yeah, your frown is upside down. And it's literally upside down. And then they start, now all of a sudden they start, well, now they start laughing. But it's to change somebody's dynamic when they are playing a game, when they're out doing something. To let's not forget that you don't get much when you're angry. If anything, you get less, right?
And it's also goes back to mindset too. So I like to, when I introduce gamification or playing games, like the reason behind it. And it's really bringing people together and solving a problem together. And even though you technically, like if you're on a conference and the leaderboard and you sign into the conference, they use gamification to make it more engaging so people don't get bored between the sessions. And then you always see that one person that like gets mad when they fall below, like they're number one, and then they have to go back in and try to do something else because they're not really embracing the spirit of it. And it's just really about how can everybody's winning. No, there's no losers in the game. Like everybody, if you're playing, you're winning, despite your level of am I 1 or am I 22? It doesn't matter. So making sure that I always reinforce that the why behind it. Why are we doing it? And then like just don't, you're still winning despite your number.
Yeah. So Amy, tell us about your part or the piece of the puzzle that you fill.
My platform is so simple, and yet it's so difficult for many people, just to point the way to the fact that joy is possible for us to create every day. In fact, we have a responsibility to do that as powerfully human beings. We have that amazing power. So Lisa sparks the laughter, whether she's in a corporate setting or doing her stand-up comedy, and there's where it's a great leveler, and that brings people together. Just like when you're out with the people in the park and they're learning something together, there's some kind of leveler where people start conversations. And from those conversations, I maintain that we need to compete in how many good acts of kindness can we do a day? How empathetic can we be? If each one of the human beings on the planet went home at night and said, how was I empathetic today? How did I crawl into somebody else's skin and just not say, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I understand, but truly try to be in that person's skin. I taught high school English for many decades, and I taught To Kill a Mockingbird so many times. And there's that amazing scene in this book from many decades ago where Atticus Finch says to his daughter, there's a simple trick in life. You just have to crawl into someone's skin and walk around in it for a while. And those words ring so true. I'm sure every one of my students, thousands of them across the universe, one person even named his son Atticus. That book has such a powerful effect. So in essence, we can create a legacy of joy because it's just simply through our words. How many of us remember a statement where somebody complimented us and it was kind of a groundbreaking compliment? And those words, whether it was a mentor, a teacher, a sports teammate, your parent, whoever it was, I'm sure every one of us has indelible words in our minds that influenced us, hopefully for the better in who we become, but I'm sure for the negative too. Like you said, with the age, you can't do this, you're too young, So I maintain that when we share our words of appreciation with each other, that we find out more about ourselves as well by learning about the other person. And I encourage people to share those words of acknowledgement with people. Don't wait for a eulogy or a birthday, share them now and let that person understand. That person unbeknownst to us, may be experiencing bullying and be isolated and alone. Even the most together and famous or successful students may have a very dark situation that they're dealing with. And so joy is my message. And I had a sibling who was born with Down syndrome. And boy, did she understand joy. And she spread it for 73 amazing years.
Wow.
And, Joycey was my inspiration to learn that we can all just embrace life with that simplicity and that purity and just that caring about understanding and asking. Debbie said curiosity, understanding the person next to us. And I think that's the only way this world is going to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you talked about your sibling, your sister, how she had joy her whole life. And then there's people who don't, and they need to find it. Right?
Yeah.
And
create it. Find it, but create it.
I feel for them because they think they can't, but they can, right? And sometimes the joy is because of the people in your life or the people who are not in you. So you need to find people who are going to impact your life. I had a celebrity friend of mine who took his own life. And if you saw this guy, super happy all the time, but that was a facade. He was suffering internally, but he never let anyone know. And I think that what we have to do is that we need to share with others. We need to share how we feel, what we're going through sometimes. And I think shame and guilt also play a huge role in why we don't tell someone we're going through something. And I think that's how we lose joy, because because of the shame and the guilt, that we can't tell someone, hey, you know what, I'm not happy, or I'm feeling miserable, or all of these different emotions that are going through us, because we're supposed to be a certain way. And if we're not a certain way, then no one will like us. So that's that shame, guilt stuff that people go through all the time. And it's a shame, because he was a beautiful soul. And God rest his soul, but he unfortunately could not do it anymore. And he took his life.
Can I respond to that a little bit? And just from my own perspective,
sure,
of being someone that has been on that ledge and understanding what it is to make that decision, if you're going to allow yourself to put it to an end, or you're going to stay.
Right.
And not telling my family or sharing with anyone was about me not wanting to hurt them or worry them. It was about, I don't want them to realize that I am in this place, and what I'm about to do could hurt them. It's going to hurt them. I know that. And so it really was never about shame or guilt for me. It was truly about the impact that I was going to have on someone else's life. My life was going to be better because there was no way out, that I thought, for the pain that I was living in at the time. But then I always have been curious enough to say there has to be another way. And what it is that makes someone make that step over that line to the other side, we'll never have the answer for, because we can't question them, we can't ask them. But I just can say, from my own perspective and working with other people that have been in this same spot, it generally has to do with not wanting to hurt. They're already hurting because of what you're going through. You feel the strain that it's putting your family through, whatever's happening, because whatever's happening with you is happening to your family, no matter what facade you put on and put the face up on. So I think it's really, I'm very thankful that I made that choice. I'm very thankful to be here and know every single one of you and have this moment to share. And I just wish that I could get this message to everyone, that understands that you just need to be paying attention to the loved ones in your life and don't expect anything from them. It's not about you, it's about them and what they're going through and what they need help with.
Thank you for sharing that, because you're right. That's a different perspective. The only reason I was able to talk about what I talked about is because I've had friends who were on the brink, and then they finally were able to step out of it and talk and come, and some of them were shame, guilt. The other ones were like you, who they they thought that their life would be better off, and maybe even some of the people would be better off without them. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I am grateful that you made the decision to stay around and stick around and make a difference in not only your life but those around you, because you've made an impact. You've impacted these three beautiful women who are with you, and they can tell you that. I'm sure they love you because of all you've done for them, and likewise, and what they've done for you, and the connections that I can see the four of you having is incredible, and that's not something that comes easy for a lot of people. So I'm grateful to know the four of you, and getting to know you every time we get to talk a little bit more.
Well, and I just want to back that up and say what you say is so true. And I think the important part is that we need hope. And that's what everyone needs. And you get hope by having joy, by having options and ways to address things, not just looking at everything through one lens. We have to be open to suggestions and ideas. But you need hope.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, we have a book there that Amy, did you have your hand up for a second?
Go ahead. I'll get it in.
Amy, you used to teach class. You don't have to raise your hand here.
In my blood.
This is open conversation, my dear. Go for it.
I was just going to say, from what Debbie said, when Debbie opens up like that, then she is providing the opportunity and the humanity for other people next to her to say, really, Debbie, you thought that? You know, seriously, I've had those thoughts too.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's the fact that when we open up and share and we become somewhat transparent, we have everything to gain, including people's lives. Awareness and education are everything. We had situations in the high school where I taught, where the teachers were summoned one morning at 6:30 in the morning because one of our alumnus who was visiting for the weekend at home for a holiday hanged himself. And we'd seen him the afternoon before visiting us all in the curriculum room. And we were trained for suicide awareness. There was a film we watched with one of an actor in it. And it was, well, Jack was a good driver, but Jack was a good driver. You know, how those accidents masked suicides. But the whole thing was about signs that people give. And especially with young people, we have to have open conversation, and we have to teach them so they don't get to the point. You know, if they're having those thoughts, they could say, wait a minute, I have a friend to go to, or this person got out of it. I'm going to get out of it too. So that's why our conversations are not called empowering for no reason. That empowerment is about living our best life possible. And that's why we're here. That's why we're all coming together.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. So let's consider your book, right? Would you mind holding it up again? I love how you even labeled it Echo This, right?
Echo this.
And And I love the circle, because the circle is everything coming together, and no matter what you do, it's going to come back anyways, right? So tell me, whose idea was it to start the book, and did each one of you have segments of the book that you wrote, or was it did you all virtually sit down and say, let's start chapter 1, chapter 2? How are we doing this?
I believe I'm the guilty party on that project, as I'm the author out of the group. I mean, Lisa's written too. I think we've all written, but I have, including this book, I'll have 14 books out soon. But anyway, and we talked about different processes of how to best effectively communicate and echo our stories. And I think it eventually boiled down to, after we had interviewed each other, we took the content from those interviews and wrote our own individual chapters. It starts with Lisa having 3 chapters, and then Debbie's 3 chapters, then mine, and then Amy concludes us out.
Very cool. Very cool. So you're the guilty one.
Yeah, on that one I am. I'll own it.
Would you mind, Michaela, telling us a little bit more about your life? Because I think you're super exceptional.
Oh, well, thank you for your kind words. I talk about in the book as well about what it is to navigate a journey through life and answering knocks at the door of what I've lived through, of lifelong disability, of legal blindness, and then divorce at 26 in 2005. And then I was blessed to fall in love with a wonderful man who was my soulmate. And then we tragically lost him in 2017 unexpectedly. So death of beloved spouse has been, and then having it's just been 7 years now this month. Sorry, I'm struggling with my voice today. I apologize. Solo parenting and widowhood. So I myself am very familiar with adversity and what it takes to overcome all of those adversities, especially starting at a very young age of literally birth, because there's never been a day, or will there ever be a day, where I haven't taken a breath, where I won't live life disabled and not see the world through really jacked up, screwed up eyes, literally, physically speaking. So, and I don't have all the answers, and I've not done it perfectly, but I do feel like I've learned a lot, and I can at least offer what hope can come from those lessons to hopefully empower someone else through conversations in their own journey.
Wow. Incredible. But you've authored, and you said this is your 14th book.
Mm-hmm.
And how on earth, when you're legally blind and you're writing books for those who can see?
It's kind of ironic, I have to
It
admit.
is a little bit. And that's why I think you're a superhero, because you're allowing others to see through your words. That's powerful.
I hope so.
Really,
I've always been someone who's never given up, never stopped, never quit, and felt like I was supposed to do my best, And I've always felt called to the written word, because I guess no one told me to go write a book. I don't know. I remember writing as a kid, and obviously what I write now is not what I wrote as a kid, but maybe if nothing else in this world, with being disabled, they can't take my words, they can't take my mind, so I can at least speak it out into the world through the written word. Now, do I have to do it in different formats than other people and, have all these accommodations? Okay, yes, fine. But with few exceptions in my life, if you can't move the mountain, meaning my disability in this case, I can go around it, under it, through it, up it, whatever, with mindset and choices, and just maybe do it a little bit a different way than the average person, but still do it in my own way, in my own path.
Wow, incredible. And there's a lot of people who doubt themselves and they put limitations. Meanwhile, you have limitations and you never doubt it yourself. That's beautiful. I have a client of mine who's autistic, and he's written 5 books, I believe, as well.
Good for him.
And a lot of people go, how on earth did he write a book, even just one? And because this poor kid is always, somebody has to bring him, so we have a session together, and I see him twice a week. And he will never be able to live on his own. He just doesn't have that comprehension where he can do things for himself. Even though he's so miserable, sometimes he comes in, he goes, I want to live by myself. And he goes on a rant about it. But in reality, he can't, right? And his mom is amazing. And she provides for him, and she's always there for him. And the dad comes in once in a while, and they thank me for the work I'm doing with him. And when we can see somebody who does not see limitations, like you don't see limitations, but there's people out there who are very capable, yet they put limitations on themselves. That's where I'm a little baffled. And as someone who, I lost my ability to walk when I was a kid. I had polio. And I guess once you have polio, you always have polio. But I didn't give up either, right? And I'm able to do everything martial arts. I work legs almost every day because I did not give up, and I was able to learn how to re-walk. I lost the ability to walk for 2 years. So when we can consider that everyone out there is capable, that they can do so much more than they give themselves credit for, I think that's a message that we need to let people know that they are worth more. They can do more. Don't limit yourself. Echo. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
That's why I think the O for opportunity is so important. And all of the letters are important here in Echo. But I think that every day, every moment of every day, we have an opportunity. And I think we just need to keep our eyes open. So it's about opportunity and openness. And you had mentioned earlier that you like to people watch. And I do the same thing. And that's where I get a lot of my comedy from. Like, and every day, like I'll go out, I'll take a walk, I watch, I'm aware of what's going on. I write down notes. And that's how a lot of times I spend an hour writing. And then part of that hour is writing jokes from what I see. So it can be like everyday things that we take for granted that you're not like, I think if people just took a notebook with them everywhere they went and wrote down notes, like you go shopping at the grocery store and somebody bangs into you with a cart and they don't say anything. Like, I'm writing that down. And I'll say, excuse me. And then they just look at me like, oh, they're just pushing their cart along. Like they're not even paying attention to what's going on around them. And that's how they push their cart into me. Like, I think just creating the opportunity for awareness in our life would help a lot of people. And that's, Amy was talking earlier about joy. And I think a lot of times you have to look for it. And if you keep yourself open instead of closed off, like that's how these opportunities are coming to you. So that's why, to me, opportunity is so important, and it's everywhere. Yeah. It's just a matter of being able to spot it. And once you work that muscle of staying aware of what's around you and what's going on, it becomes more and more like, that's how I can't even, there's so many things I note in a day. Like I have enough material for a year.
Nice. And that's in one day, right?
Yeah. So
well,
just keeps coming.
Yeah. I did a talk on SEO, and most people thought I was going to talk about search engine optimization.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, he's going to talk about this. It's all internet stuff. I was like, no, seek every opportunity.
Yes. I love that.
Every opportunity, right? Either you seek it or you see it, but it's always about, there is an opportunity every moment of your life. You wake up and there's an opportunity of how you're going to live the rest of your day. How's your morning going to be? It's your opportunity to change that schedule. If you see something happening, you have the opportunity to change it. Or maybe, and I always tell people, when you don't answer, you're actually answering. That's an answer. And people are like, what do you mean? I didn't say yes or no. I said, I get it. Your answer really meant you're not part of it. You're not doing it. You're not participating. So that's probably a no. and a lot of people don't realize that all our actions are based on, first comes from a thought. And then the actions that we take, the opportunities that we grasp, whether we do or don't. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people, especially salespeople, especially the bad ones, the bad salespeople, who say, well, this is the only opportunity that'll ever come your way. I'm like, yeah, guess what? I've waited for the bus before, and if I missed it, yes or no. Maybe not today. Maybe I missed the bus today, but I'll catch tomorrow's bus. It's always, you also have to see the opportunities and see if they're worthwhile. Sometimes you just got to say, nope, not for me, right? Come on, ladies.
You know, that awareness is so important, being aware of our surroundings with our little notebook, jotting down all these little human foibles and interactions. I want us to entertain the thought too, though, that people are watching us. People are watching us, and we don't realize it, but people are watching us all the time, and they're scrutinizing what we're doing. It brings to mind a commercial I've seen about fastening your seatbelt, because your kids are watching you give the example of fastening your seatbelt. Well, how about the examples people give at home, whether they are, showing bad habits to their children about substance abuse or whatever, mores or activities or habits that parents have that are carried over to the children. So the idea is that we're all teachers. I was inspired by the quote by Henry Adams that says, a teacher affects eternity. He never knows where his influence stops. I know that you, as a teacher of martial arts or SEO, that you inspire and have a meteoric kind of exponential effect on people, and you never know where it stops, but it's out there, and you put that into the universe. And each one of us, whether it's with our children, our neighbors, our friends, we are doing the same thing. So I'd like everyone to realize we are all teachers. Even little children teach us. We are all teachers, and whether we're conscious of this or not, everything we breathe, say, and do is teaching someone either that's good, I want to be like that, or this is someone that needs a little bit of conversation and a little bit of teaching, because I don't think I want to hang out with that person. That's our responsibility, to create that model. And I believe that's how we create a lasting legacy of joy. For Debbie with good health, for Michaela, other parents are watching her, other parents are watching, how does she do this with a 13 and a 10-year-old? My goodness. And how does she do all the other things she does, which are numerous and amazing? And she can't drive herself around in a car, but boy, does she make up for it. And, and Lisa talks to corporations and organizations, so we're all teaching, but this is not out of the ordinary of what people can do, even in their daily goings about life. They're teaching, we're all teaching.
Yeah, beautifully said. When we consider what you said, that we're all teachers, but we need to also be open to learning. And one of the things, and you talked about me as a martial artist, I do teach children and adults, and I have several businesses, so I'm able to impact many different people, and they impact me as well. So I don't always have a client unless they're going to teach me something. Otherwise, they can't be my client. So I'm selfish when I take somebody on as a client. And the reason is because it's got to be a two-way street. And so the communication has to be fully open. So a lot of the times I'll look at a little kid and I'll go, wow, you're so good. I think you're going to be a great instructor. And they look at me like, really? I'm like, yeah. And a lot of the times I'll spotlight them, because if they're doing something right, I'll bring them to the front and I go, everybody let's take a look at Michaela. Look how awesome she is. Let's take a look at Amy, how amazing she is. Let's take a look at Johnny, how awesome he is. And so we always take people and we highlight them. And the reason I like highlighting people is because it says to someone, guess what? They are exceptional. They are what we want to strive to be. And they're good at what they're doing right now. So let's go ahead and follow them and let's do what they're doing. And it's going to be fun for all of us, right? So look at Lisa. Wow, look at that move she just did. It's incredible. Let's try doing it like her, right? And then look at Debbie. Look at the way she's moving. Oh, her body's moving. And wow, look at Amy. She is just dead on. Let's try to emulate what she's doing. And raise your hand if you want to be like Amy. What? Me too. I want to be like Amy. So let's go ahead and let's go try harder. And this inspires that kid. You have no idea. The parents who were like, they were on their phone, like on social media, all of a sudden they're like, they take their video out and they start videotaping their kid who's leading the class. Now they're in charge of all people and I make my assistant instructors also follow the kid, or even I follow. I say, teach me. And all of a sudden they realize that they have it inside of them to impact others. And I think if we start with when they're young, to let them know that they have the capability to inspire and to help others, I think that speaks volumes to them.
I think we all follow that. I think all of us talk about kids a lot in our conversations and bring people back to thinking about when they were a kid and how we worked and we functioned. There weren't boundaries. We were open. We were free, unless somebody taught us to question or have boundaries. So, but if you just let a child be free when they're born, the amazing things that they teach us and that they share with us, we should be learning from that, but they're also learning from us, and they're learning when we allow them to do that they have the freedom to do that. So I think that, we all spend a lot of time talking about returning to thinking about when you were a child, or watch your children or watch your neighborhood kids, and you will learn a lot. And we need to be learning from every age.
Absolutely. One of the things that really touched me when I saw a speaker, and he said something, and I got to tell you, there was 3,000 people and there was not a dry eye in the room. When he said, I want you to close your eyes with me and go back and see yourself when you were 5 or 6, and imagine yourself sitting on a bed, and go back and hug that kid and forgive them. Mm-hmm. And it was, I mean, he went deeper and deeper into, literally, I looked around, it was, including my eyes, everybody was crying, because it's the emotion of, we need to forgive ourselves, because we're not perfect. And I've never met a perfect person. And if anybody here ever did, please let me know. I need to meet them. Right? I need to meet that perfect person. But we all make mistakes. We all do the wrong thing. And we need to go back and say, hey, you know what? I still love you. You're important to me. Right? I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to communicate with ourselves. And think about it. Every day we get that chance to forgive ourselves, to be with ourselves, to understand us. I think the first thing we need to do, well, I'm not going to tell everybody how to live their life, but the way I live mine is the first thing I do when I wake, go from a sleeping state to a waking state. First thing I do is I go into gratitude. I thank God for the abilities he's given me, the gifts he's given me, and the fact that I woke up, that I'm alive, that I can even think and move my hands, my feet, I can get up, I can do things. I've given another chance to impact. I'd love to share this video with you guys if you don't mind. It's about my new launch that I did. Take a look.
Welcome to Speaking Prowess, where we believe in the power of communication to transform lives. If you're ready to take your communication skills to the next level, we have a lineup of some of the most influential communication experts in the industry. These are the voices that will guide you on a journey to enhance your ability to connect, influence, and succeed. At Speaking Prowess, our mission is clear: to empower you through effective communication. We know that mastering the art of communication isn't just about what you say. It's about how you say it and the impact it has on every aspect of your life. Get ready to embark on a journey towards personal and professional growth.
Ta-da! So for me, it's how do we impact, right? And I think that communication is everything. And thank you, ladies, for being here and sharing your story and your book. Amy, would you hold that book up again and then tell us how people can pick up your book? Hold it so it's in front of the camera. Let's see that.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Well,
Get over. Keep going. Over to you and pull back a little bit. I'm directing you right now. There you go.
Here we go.
Perfect. Looks great. So how can somebody, thank you, Amy, how can somebody pick up the book?
You can purchase it at Amazon. Just type in Echo This, and you'll find it.
Perfect. Perfect. We lost Amy. Hi, Amy. Okay. She's back. She's back. Ladies, thank you so much for taking the time and coming together from Arizona to Florida. So I have Arizona, Florida. What else do we have here?
New Jersey.
Louisiana.
Louisiana, and New York. Look at that. We're all covered. So I would love to always be connected with you, ladies. I think you're all exceptional. Thank you so much for coming on the coaching call. And if you ever want to come on my other shows, now that I have 6, only 6.
Only 6.
Only 6. The newest one is called Speaking Prowess, and that one is where we're going to talk to people who impact people on communication. And that's why we call it Speaking Prowess. It's all about communication, right? So thank you again for being here with us. I appreciate you. And I encourage everyone who either listened to this live or on the replay to go ahead and share it with other people. I think this is a show worth listening to. Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.